Hello, I'm Stephen Coates. Welcome to my studio. Now, in my view, one of the best ways to practice watercolours and improve skills is to have a go at a really straightforward scene and complete it in just a few minutes. We can all get a little bit obsessed with detail, I'm sure you'll agree. So it is often better to just focus on colour, light and form. This will encourage faster, energetic brush strokes and result in a much looser and more impressionistic result. Let's have a go at some examples. Well, today I want to show you how to do a really basic seashore scene. Now, this is going to be really quick and it's all about the brush strokes and the energy and the movement of the paint across the paper. So I've got some Bockingford paper here. This is just a little bigger than A4. Let me just show you what I'm doing on the palette. I'm keeping this nice and simple. I've got some ultramarine here, some burnt sienna here. These are the only two colours that I'm going to use in the whole painting. And over here I've got a mix of the ultramarine and the burnt sienna. And I've stirred that into quite a thick sort of mix, which is like a really sort of warm grey colour. So let's get started. So this is the Stephen Coates Mini Hake, which is a little goat hair brush available online. I've filled this up with water. I'm going to do this in a vignette style, which means I'm not going to sort of fill up the whole space of the paper. I'm going to wet this, the sort of top half of the paper like this, just spread some water across, and then I'm going to pick up a very small amount of the burnt sienna, just a tiny bit, and this will just give me a few warm patches in the sky, like this. And then straight to the ultramarine without washing the brush. I'll just poke that in there and pull some ultramarine out. Give that a little shuffle and then just stroke that into the sky higher up, like this. So the water on the paper is still wet, so that should develop a little. And then what I want to do is I want to make this look like it's really stormy down towards the horizon. So I'm going to dip straight into the grey mixed colour. And I'm going to make this sky look really grey and oppressive lower down, as though there was a storm brewing along the horizon. And we'll just sort of flick that up into the blue and create a few nice stormy clouds lower down. So that's it, that's all I'm going to do there, and then I'm going to let that settle and dry that off. Okay, that's dried off. I've got a number 10 round brush here. This is one of my spearhead brushes, which has got a lovely soft and very full brush head with a lovely point on it. And I'm going to just paint the sea. So it depends on how steady your hand is, but basically I put a little water in the brush. I'm going to pick up a little of that grey and I'm going to just paint a horizon across here. If I just pull the brush across and create the horizon like that, and then I'm going to come back across and we'll try and leave a few gaps in there to make it look like there's some waves out on the sea. And then where it's lighter, higher up in this sky, we might see a little of the blue. So I'm going to give the brush a little wash, pick up a little of the ultramarine, and we'll start putting a little of that in as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm now going to start dragging the brush, holding it down really low, like this, and hopefully create the effect of a sparkle, a little more paint, a little bit of sparkle on the sea. Like that. And then lower down here, immediately I'm going to go into wet the brush again, pick up a little of the burnt sienna, I'm going to sweep some of that across here, a little bit more water this time. I'm going to pull that up towards the water there, and then immediately I'm going to pull a little of the grey through that as well, and this will give me a lovely strong foreground lower down. And while that paint is still wet, I can pull the brush across and it should soften and blend quite nicely. So I've dried that off, and as you can see, we've got those lovely lines moving from side to side, those lovely long, quick, energetic brush strokes. It's very impressionistic, but you can see exactly what it is. So I'm just going to finish it off with a few little details. I'm going to take a little bit of the grey mix. Let me just show you what I'm doing. A little of the grey mix. I'm just going to take it to one side on the palette and put a little water in it. And I'm going to create a headland over in the distance. This is a number 8 round spearhead brush, and we'll just create what looks like, I'm going to start at one end. Hopefully this will just look like a headland or a landmass over in the distance. You can see it's nice and wet, but I'm just dragging the paint along because I don't want it to go patchy or have any brush marks in it. And if I just keep moving the paint along, you can see it's settling out, and that will dry really smooth. So I ran that paint in really quickly to get it to lay smoothly down, and now I can just use a little bit of the stronger grey mix. I'm just going to use spearhead number 6 now, which is a smaller brush, and maybe just down here on the beach we've got a few rocks, bits of seaweed and stuff like that. And quite often with things like this, the more randomly you just sort of drop this in, the better it is. There's a little cluster of rocks on the beach in the foreground, which looks really effective. Pop a couple over there as well. And then what you often get on beaches are little gullies and little areas where the water runs and little bits of seaweed end up. So I'm just going to take a size 2 rigger, pick up a little of the grey, and we'll just scribble a few lines across. And this just gives the impression of a few bits and pieces that may have just washed up on the beach. A few little gullies and cracks, maybe a little bit of seaweed here and there. And I'm also going to put in a couple of birds up here. I'm just going to pop a mount over that now so we can see how that looks. And I'm sure you'll agree that's made a fabulous little study of the seashore. So there it is, a very simple seashore scene done in just a few minutes with lovely positive brush strokes in a really impressionistic style. And I'm sure you'll agree that makes a super little study. So have a go at that, and keep watching out for my videos where I've got lots more of these practice studies for you to try. And remember, all of the products featured in this painting are available from online stores now.